Well, hello, my friends. Super happy to be here with you. Welcome to another episode. I'm here with Amy Kartheiser. She's principal of an interior design firm here in Chicago. And we're going to talk today about her career and also how to connect with art consultants, what art consultants and interior designers are looking for in artists in the world today. So stay around, it's going to be good.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Amy, good to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you, Sergio. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. You run a very successful firm. And, even before we met in person, I had heard about you. Good things, of course.
I didn't know that.
And I said, you have to meet Amy, and we had a chance to meet because also Art for Life Chicago. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the interior design industry. Okay. For a lot of artists, it's also mysterious. Like, how do I get in? What are they looking for?
Right.
Because it's a very different world than what we used to in the art world, the gallery system, and so on. So that's why I'm happy to have a minute with you.
Yeah. Ask me anything. I'm an open book.
Oh, there you go. Well, let's start with that.
Okay.
At the beginning of the book, chapter 1.
Okay, chapter 1.
So where does Amy's career begins?
Okay, so I actually graduated from college and I was not in the interior design school. My parents had really mapped out my career path, and it did not include interior design. Funny enough, though, my mom went back to school. I've got 6 siblings, and when the youngest one was born, she actually went back to school to be an interior designer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, lo and behold, the career I was in sales for healthcare. So I was working in surgical suites in hospitals. But I was really running my own business because we worked out of our homes. We had our own territories. So I did well enough that I could afford a beautiful loft in Chicago, and I hired my mom to help me.
That's great.
So my mom and I spent all this time designing the place and walking the floors at the merchandise mart and looking at vendors and showrooms and furniture, and we had a ball. And I fell in love with what she did for a living because I didn't really understand it. And so, I kind of moonlighted for a little bit. I started walking the mart during lunch breaks and getting to know the vendors and the showrooms and what they sold. And eventually I just quit cold turkey. My job, I went from making like 6 figures to making maybe $6,500 my first year. But it was worth it. And I did some online courses, but she really became my school and my teacher for all things design. She was not, sorry mom, she was not a great business owner. She didn't know the business aspect of design or running your own company, because I look at myself now as a business owner first, a designer second. But she was magnificent at teaching me all the ins and outs and how to apply things and what to look for. So it was one of the best things ever.
It's awesome. And it seems from the moment I met you until now too, that you're a go-getter. That you have something in mind. You have that feel.
And it's interesting.
It has helped you
I think it's because I have a passion for what I do. I don't know if my old bosses, when I was selling surgical products, would say the same thing. Because it was fine. But I love so much what we do, and it's really important to me to also make sure my clients are having a good experience. So the more I know, the more I learn, the more things I can bring to them to show them for their projects. The happier they are, the more excited I get. So it's just kind of steamrolls into one another.
What are the projects that really get you excited now?
I think the projects that get me most excited are the clients that are willing to let us step outside of their comfort zone a little bit. Because I find those clients are the happiest and the most excited instead of the ones who kind of play it safe. We're happy to do those as well. But the ones who are willing to take a risk, I think, end up the happiest, and that makes us the happiest.
I love it. And tell me a little bit about this idea of taking risk, and also when you help them select the art that they live with.
So I would say we've had a couple clients over the years who curate their own art. So they have art curators that they work with. And they obviously have a beautiful collection because it's important to them. They understand how important art is in our day-to-day lives, all of us. The other ones who aren't familiar will hire me at usually near the end of a project to start bringing in art. And I think that they need to see the whole space come together with the art. They're uncomfortable because they don't know art to start with at first. Or I should say, some of them do have a piece that's really important to them that they've carried for the last 25 years. And then we'll work that into the design. I think, you know, having something that's meaningful is super important to have in your home, more so than us just sourcing something that doesn't have meaning behind it as well. I'll start with, quite frankly, a Pinterest board. And I start just putting in different pieces of art, anywhere from traditional to modern to photography to impressionist work, you know, anything that can evoke a feeling in them. And I just ask them to write comments of, love this piece, don't like that art, love these colors, you know, things like that, so I can start to really hone in on what pieces may speak to them. When I think about design, we talk about how they want to use their spaces, and I think art is really important. And I never feel like our job is done until there's art on the walls.
Love that.
I mean, you look at a room that is fully furnished and has zero artwork, it's fine. But when you put that art on the walls, oh my gosh, it completely changes. Changes the mood, changes your feelings, changes the emotion, and it's a whole different language you're speaking now. So.
I love that, I love that. Now, I know, like, from all the artists who are watching here, if there was one question that everybody would want to know is, how in the world do artists get in front of interior designers like you?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, okay, all right, everyone, listen closely. So, I mean, the wonderful part of now is that we have marketing at our fingertips. You know, it's available to everyone for free. So I'd say the biggest thing to do is Instagram, you know, and you can, you know, obviously do a search on designers and do local designers or do designers anywhere, and then just get into their DM feeds and show them their work. And I will be honest with you, some artists will show me their work and I'll go, I'm not sure that's right for my clientele, but maybe I'll save it for if, you know, if I'm working in Chicago, but maybe I've got a job down in Naples, or I've got a job in the Hamptons or in California, that piece will work for. And then I think you have some work that's maybe more universal or that can work in any setting. But I always save their work. I'm a Pinterest fanatic. I have an art board on Pinterest where I save all of these artists' work.
That's amazing.
So my second piece of advice is, once you contact an artist, I like to look at your Instagram feed, but I also like to go back to, if you have the ability to make a website, you know, even of past work, if you don't have anything current, because that starts a whole different conversation too. Like, oh, I see what you saw on your feed right now, but I didn't know you were doing that 5 or 10 years ago. And maybe you're not interested in going back to that art, but maybe you are. And maybe that's the piece that speaks to me or my client.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it may still be available. So I'd say, you know, in this democracy that marketing is available to everyone right now, use it to your advantage to get a hold of designers. So reach out. I personally love art. I was surrounded by it with my mother as a designer. Art was really important in our household. My brothers are artists, and so it's always been such a big thing to me. So yes, you can send me your artwork. But I just think, and you know, once you start to curate your art or your Instagram, we were talking about earlier, once you start to get really good and comfortable on any feed of marketing your artwork, like that can always flow into then Facebook. And I personally find you can use the same imagery from Instagram to Facebook. I find I've got a totally different audience on Facebook. You know, and you may find different designers or different groups of designers on Facebook as well. So
now, something that I really wanted to ask you too, because you also have a passion for artists. And that's why we're doing this little quick chat. And you have this show within your Instagram that's called Meet the Maker.
It is.
And I had a pleasure to be part of that.
Yeah, he was on it today. You're going to have to watch.
So yeah, we'll put the link under the video. And tell me about the Meet the Maker. Why you're doing that? I know you're super busy and you got a lot of clients to take care of. I know that takes some time of you to go to an artist studio, to chat with them, to feature them in your feed and introduce them to your network. Tell me why you do that.
Yeah, well, like I said, you have to have a passion for your work. I also have a passion for art, as you can, maybe you can tell, but I think it is one of the most important things you can have in your home. My mom always collected art. My brothers were artists. It kind of started organically. I would think most things in our life start, organically. And there is a ceramicist up in the North Shore of Chicago. Yeah. And she and I decided to film one day, me walking through her studio, which was in her home, and talk about her pieces and how she got started, because I loved her stuff. And we put it on Instagram, not thinking we were ever going to do another one. Yeah. And she was helping me launch another part of who I am. But that's kind of how it started. And we had such a great feedback from it that I was like, it wasn't called Meet the Maker. It was like, here's Cass O'Brien and Amy Kartheiser. So it just kind of developed into something where then I started reaching out to artists to say, hey, I'm doing this series. Would you let? And they're like, sure, that's great. And we'd walk around their studio and we'd put it out there. And I have a really nice following on Instagram. So I think that was intriguing for them to take the time to be a guest. Right. And so I really appreciate everyone who said yes. And now it's just grown so that we have this ongoing list, and it's even from people who reach out to me to say, hey, here's my artwork. And I'll be like, put them on the list. Or it's, I meet people at Design Chicago, or I go to galleries to view different artworks, and I'll take pictures of who those artists are. And then we'll contact them to say, hey, would you like to do this? And I know they do their background check to say, is this legit? Is she crazy? But no, it's just really grown. And I think we've got a wait list that takes us through to like half of 2024.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but I also travel a lot, like we've talked about, and I've done a couple just on the road. Outside, and so even if an artist lives out of state, I love to travel. I would be more than open to going to do a Meet the Maker in another state.
Exciting. Well, pretty good. And for our friends, make sure you go watch it. We're going to put the link also here on Instagram. And I will share all your links also at the end. And it's really wonderful, when like different aspects of the art creative world can meet.
We're all part of the same community. I think beautifying people's lives, you know, and whether that's what I do through my furnishings and putting together the right textiles and colors, and you guys bringing in your art. I think beautifying the world and our lives is really important to our mental health and beyond. So.
Super. Well, Amy, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please tell our friends where can they find you, particularly on Instagram and your website for that.
So I'm just Amy Kartheiser Design, and that's my Instagram, that's our website. We've got Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, but it's the same thing everywhere you go.
Exciting. Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you. This was such a pleasure.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.